Hello. Thank you so much for attending our open house. We are Aesthetics of Central Texas, or you can call us for short ACT. Now, who am I? I'm Dr. Teresa Irwin, and I was an OB-GYN originally when I first came to Central Texas in 2000. My husband and I decided that when our oldest son turned 13 years old, a teenager, that I would stop doing OB-GYN. And after having delivered over 3,000 plus babies, I thought it was a good time to do that. At that point, I became subspecialized in female pelvic medicine and reconstructive surgery. Now, what the heck does that mean? Hardly anybody knows what that means. So I decided to change my name, or I should say my title. When our oldest son one day was talking with a group of friends in high school, and they were talking about their families, and one of his friends said, "Hey dude, what is it that your mom does for a living?" So he's like 15, 16 years old, and he hears me talking about vaginas all day long. So he's like, vaginecology? So when he told me this, I said, Miko, that's perfect. That's exactly what I do. I treat problems of the vagina. So I ended up starting a website for educational purposes, and also starting social media handles, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for educational purposes. I started my whole aesthetics providing journey back in 2007. I created a company called Laser Vaginal Rejuvenation Center of Central Texas. Now, the way that this came about was one day when my husband and I had gone to San Antonio to have a romantic dinner. We were looking for the car at the end of the evening and could not find it, so we were lost walking around. And I decided to tell him about what I really wanted to do was to go to the course to create vaginas that would be tighter, to create more frictional forces for sexual intercourse. And he said, okay. And this is unusual for my husband. Usually he's going to say either no, or he's going to say, let me think about it. Usually it's the latter. But, he had a couple of drinks and he was a little more amenable to what I had to say. So needless to say, that's when that happened. But then I started adding other services such as liposuction, Botox, fillers, and on and on. And it became very apparent that I could not do all of this. Plus, liposuction was very boring. And because I was now subspecialized in vaginecology, I was getting busier all the time. Therefore, I started to begin to then taper down on some of those treatments that I was providing. But in the process of adding these different treatments, I had to change the name because I was not doing just laser vaginal rejuvenation. So I changed it to Central Texas Wellness and Rejuvenation Center, CTWRC. And many of you have known me through that particular company. One of the therapies that we provided was hormone therapy pellets, and that was pretty much all I ended up giving as a service in the end because of just not having enough time. And that was mainly through a wonderful nurse practitioner. So let me tell you a little bit about my husband. He is Dr. Richard Lau. He is brilliant, and I don't say that just because he's my husband, but he is. I signed him up for Jeopardy, and I won't go through the whole story, but he went pretty far into it until our house was flooded, so we don't know if he actually got into the show itself, but he had gone through all the other steps. He graduated from Mayo Medical School, and we met in residency at Baylor College of Medicine. He he was first in the Air Force for 3 years at Randolph Air Force Base and went on to San Marcos Family Medicine for 16 years, and then WellMed for a couple of years, and now he is extremely thrilled with what he's doing as a physician at the Student Health Center at Texas State University here in San Marcos, Texas. Okay, as I mentioned, I've been a practicing OB-GYN initially, now urogynecologist since 2000. And the three most common complaints that I would get were fatigue, weight gain, and decreased libido. And Western medicine just did not seem to be able to address those conditions, those complaints adequately. And I'm talking, and this is not to say that Western medicine is not good, because I practice it mostly. I operate, so that's a lot of Western medicine. Anyway, needless to say, I went and looked outside the box to find other treatments that would address these conditions. Let me talk about the causes of each of these. So first of all, fatigue. Well, there's a whole lot of causes. And the primary causes are going to be hormonal imbalances, but that can be from thyroid hormones, adrenal hormones, or sex hormones. And that can lead to weight gain that makes you tired or sleep disturbances that makes you tired. Now, the second complaint is weight gain. And that can be due to many causes, such as hormonal imbalances, which includes all the different hormones that I mentioned earlier. Uh, it can be from sedentary lifestyle or poor nutrition. And I attribute a lot of that poor nutrition to the fact that a lot of the big corporations had created these foods that contain ingredients that are addictive. So most of the time, it's not my patient's fault they gained weight. It's big companies. Not the only reason, but the primary reason. And then the third problem being decreased libido. What are the causes of decreased libido? I like to subcategorize it into two: biological, body, and the brain. So from here down and then here up. Okay, biological is going to be hormonal imbalances for the three categories I mentioned previously, and poor tissue quality, which occurs as we get older, although it actually does not happen just during menopause and andropause, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Then the other reason is up here. Women's primary sexual organ is our brain. So if we are stressed, we're fatigued, kids are around, in-laws are around, you're thinking about the next thing that you need to do, body image is a huge one, or you're pissed off at your partner, that's going to decrease your desire to have sex. That's just the way that women are designed. So therefore, we need to address those factors. Additionally, women lose 50% of their testosterone by the age of 30. That's ridiculous. Of course, your libido and sexual function are going to be affected. I listened to a recent podcast by one of my favorite podcasters, and he is a neurobiologist and ophthalmologist scientist. And he interviewed this particular MD PhD. She started out as a OBGYN, and after she went to her doctor at the age of 35, after having her first child, and said, I'm tired, I'm gaining weight, and I have no sex drive. Is there a resounding theme here? And this was a recent podcast, and I've been talking about this for I don't know how many years, a long time. She came out publicly saying that women should be on bioidentical hormones, and she says that it should start at the age of 40. She says at least 40, maybe even earlier. And it's not just about symptom relief, all the symptoms that we think about in menopause, but they happen earlier on. It's more so for prevention of age-killing diseases. And what are they? Heart disease is the number one killer. Breast cancer is number two. And all the others are close. You have osteoporosis, you have cancers, diabetes, and Alzheimer's and dementia. And that last one is the one that I'm most worried about because it runs in my family. So you bet you I am going to be on hormone pellet therapy for the rest of my life unless somebody yanks them out of me. Okay, to tell you about the services that we provide, I want to address those three different factors. Okay, to address fatigue, we have hormone pellet therapy, thyroid supplementation, weight loss therapy, and peptide therapy. For weight gain, we have weight loss therapy, peptides, hormone therapy, pellets, and sound wave therapy for cellulite. And then for the last one, for decreased libido and impaired sexual function or suboptimal sexual function, we offer sound wave therapy for the clitoris and penis, of course, hormone therapy pellets. You notice how that one keeps coming up. Plus, all of our aesthetic treatments are helpful for decreased libido. Why? Because earlier I said, one of the biggest causes for women having low libido is body image. So anything that will help her improve her body image that she feels is helping her, then that's going to help her as well in her sexual department. And that can be anywhere from weight gain, so our weight loss therapy and the other services that I told you about, for hair restoration if she has hair loss, or if she has too much hair, laser hair removal, or she has wrinkles or hyperpigmentation, that dark spots, red spots, etc. We have several lasers that will help in that area. And also, decreased libido can be from stress. I mentioned that earlier. So how wonderful is it to have a luxurious or a luscious facial? It often will de-stress us and to be pampered that way. So we have lots of services that are going to help you from the inside out. Our philosophy is to provide high quality care with long-term results. And ultimately, we want to help you heal from the inside, beautify the inside of you, and also beautify the outside of you. We are going to be doing a monthly philanthropic event. So once a month, we are going to provide a free service for somebody. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. One would be to provide a free facial for a mother who's never had one. Now, someone could just say, hey, I've never had a free facial. Again, they might have. So the way we're going to do this is by asking people to send people's names in that they feel deserve a free facial and why. Another example would be to provide a free laser hair removal series of treatments for someone of color skin. And why is that? Because many of the lasers in the past have not been able to be used on colored skin because it would cause for worsening discoloration or bumps on the body, etc. It just was not conducive. So that is another one. We have more in plan, but that's what we're going to start doing this year. I want to end this by saying that I would love for you all to take on the next thought-provoking question and talk about it with your family and friends. I've done this a lot with my family, friends, colleagues, etc., strangers. And this one, the idea came from Vanessa Van Edwards. She is the founder of the Science of People, and she deals with conducting studies on people's behaviors and interactions with each other. So this particular one starts out with saying, if you were going to be 90 years old and you had to choose between a 30-year-old mind and a 30-year-old body, which would you choose and why? So to be fair, I'll give you my answer. I decided that I will choose the 30-year-old mind, although I would prefer my 50-year-old mind because I feel like I'm wiser now than I was at the age of 30. But okay, to answer the question, 30-year-old mind and the 90-year-old body, but I will then do all the aesthetic and plastic surgery services that I can do to try to maintain as young a body as I can. And with that, I want to thank you all so much. I appreciate your time and attention. I know this is very long-winded, but I wanted to give you a little more insight onto what we do and why. Thank you. Cheers.